came back to this lovely country, the country of her birth, in September, having worked for the world's largest chemical company. And when you work for the world's largest chemical company, it changes you. Whether you know it or not, it changes you. Because there are chemicals around. Anyways. But she got changed in quite a fundamental way, and she wants to talk to us about how her view of the world has been altered and how she wants us to think about the world a little bit differently. So please, Jaisheila Rajput, please take the stage. Jaisheila, are you around? I hope you are. There you are. Gee, I just remember a white blazer.
Okay, not intimidated in the very least. So, somebody said something really interesting to me today. The craziest people in the world are the ones that think they can change the world and do. Can you put your hand up if you think you're one of those people? Excellent. So this is the whole thing about sustainability. It's not all hearts and flowers, let's save the panda, it's we're all gonna die. I tried to actually just keep it real after the beer break, so you understand where we're actually coming from. The thing about sustainability is the fact that it's not just these crazy buzzwords that we hear all the time and you don't know what to make out of it. You think it's the job of government or big business or other people to take care of it, and it's not. And it's actually much, much simpler than you think. It's as simple as taking a responsible decision, doing the right thing in every single decision that we take. That's it. It doesn't mean that we have to go out there and pretend and go on about certain things, but it means that we have to engage. Now here's the thing. The world, the planet, has its challenges. Overpopulation is a key example of that. I mean, we hear things about the next 9 billion people and it's just pretty much around the corner. Okay, turns out 20 seconds is a lot shorter than I thought. So, aside from overpopulation, we have things such as teeming landfill sites. And this comes from the challenges as far as disposable lifestyles go. Everything is quick, convenient, easy, and so consequently, we have the kind of situation that we have. But that's not the end of the story. There's good news at the end, and that is the focus as far as sustainable living goes. Now here's the key thing. A lot of times when people talk about sustainability, it kind of sounds like we should be hippies living in communes and give up pretty much everything. And it's not. It's much, much more than that. And that's the key thing that I like to actually focus on, is the point as far as innovation and collaboration goes. For me, that really is the key to sustainability. That's the key to making a difference. The key is engagement. Everyone stepping in and doing their part. So this is the part where I invite you to put on your sustainability superhero costume and join me on this journey. And that's the whole thing, is that it's simple, it's easy, straightforward, and I'll show you exactly how to go about doing it. And in the next few slides, I'll show you a practical example in the fashion industry, how to go about doing it. So earlier on I mentioned, people think that it's about big business and being able to actually do certain things as far as sustainability goes. No, it's not. Because if you look at it just from a big business perspective, it's very reactive. It's much more about risk management, but really it's in the hands of the consumer, what it is that we can do from that perspective. And business is starting to recognize that. They're looking at different ways of going about engaging. Patagonia is a perfect example of that in terms of how they engage with thinking deeply about how we consume, how we want to consume, and the impact that we're making from there. So this is the really key thing. A lot of times when we think about sustainability, we always think about the first stages. The stage where you think about designing a new garment, the labor practices, sustainable materials, all the stuff that goes into it. But it's much, much more than that. It's what happens after you use these garments. What happens afterwards? The impact on landfill sites. So instead, what we're actually looking at is how do we go about reusing, repurposing, having a positive impact, and then consequently using less resources. That really is the key. And that's what we call closed loop systems. And that's one of the ideas that we're actually propagating, that it doesn't actually end when it comes to the designing of the garment, but it looks at how we go about engaging. So typical examples as far as rethinking how we engage are things such as swapping garments, looking at the labels, looking into the industry and being able to say, where does the garment come from? Who is engaged in making it? How does it actually contribute from that perspective? And then being able to actually say, okay, now I've worn my garment for 3 times, I don't want to wear it anymore, but what do I actually do with it? And it doesn't have to end at this point where you hand it over and somebody else's problem. It's much more about actively engaging, closing the loop, being able to actually be part of the solutions. And that's typically what we look at as far as my version of sustainability goes. It's much more about not just saving the panda, but going into shops, looking at what it is that we have, and being able to actually take it to the next stages. Part of the engagement cycle is the fact that we look at what happens to the clothes. Do we go about taking these clothes, they can be reworn again, or what actually happens is they can be stripped down into rags, or they could actually be used as fibers, as insulating materials, or even repurposed and recycled into new garments. So that's one example when it comes to the fashion industry, but actually there's much more out there. And that's the part that we're trying to start a movement right now, to get people to recognize that sustainability is much more of how we go about engaging, trying to capture ideas as far as closing the loop goes. If you like what you've heard so far, I invite you to participate in something that I like to call I like, I wish, I wonder. That's an engagement cycle of how we look at the world we live in. And that's the idea. Look and identify things that you like going on around you. Go about identifying things that you could go to do differently and go about creating the change. Very important, hashtag TOMA-Now. Please engage on Twitter. If you have any ideas, if there are things that you're doing to contribute right now, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to be able to engage further. Thank you very much.